It's supposed to bring a freshness, excitement, and sense of mission to energy research, and it's supposed to focus on creative, out-of-the-box, transformational energy research that industry by itself cannot or will not support due to high risk, but where success would provide dramatic benefits for the nation. So first, give us a sense of the scale of the program, and since we are in budget week here in Washington, how are you doing? The last I heard, you had a $400 million initial appropriation from stimulus money, but not much more since then. Has anything happened since then?
So first, before I start, let me just thank you for organizing this event and inviting me. Going back to the start of ARPA-E, there was a report by the National Academies led by Norm Augustine, who was the former CEO of Lockheed Martin, called Rising Above the Gathering Storm. If you haven't read it, it's worth reading. And that was in 2005 and 2006. And in 2007, ARPA-E was established, at least in law, in something called the America Competes Act of 2007 in the previous administration. And it got launched in 2009 by President Obama and put $400 million to start launch the agency. And that came out of the Recovery Act, so it had to be obligated in a year and a half in September of last year, and we achieved that.
Okay.
So now
I should say you arrived only in October 2009.
That's right.
So you've only really been here for a year and 3 or 4 months.
That's right. That's right.
So you were able to spend that $400 million or spend most of it?
Spend all of it.
Spend all of it. Yeah. So do you have more money now, or are you no, seriously, are you caught up in this moment in Washington where we don't yet have a budget passed for the fiscal year that's 4 months old?
Yes. So we are, the President's request for the FY11, fiscal year 11.
That we're in now.
That we're in now, which was supposed to be passed in September of 2010, October 1st, 2010, is still under continuing resolution, and the President requested $300 million for that.
And so what does that mean in practical terms? Are you able to make new rounds of grants now, or are you, in a sense, kind of in a holding pattern until Congress resolves the budget deadlock?
We are in a holding pattern. We cannot announce any new funding opportunity announcements of the different topics that we want to explore, so we are in a holding pattern right now.
Which is shocking to me, given that, as you point out, the agency was created under the Bush Republican administration and supported very enthusiastically by Secretary Chu and President Obama. Are you spending time up on Capitol Hill trying to get things unlocked?
Well, I mean, I should say that there's tremendous amount of bipartisan support for ARPA-E. People have worked really hard to get us into the appropriation cycle. This is the first time the ARPA-E will be in an appropriation cycle because it came out of the Recovery Act. It's just the nature of the history that we have. So a lot of people have worked very hard, and we have had tremendous support from both sides of the aisle. Yeah.
But you're still
well,
waiting.
I mean, we are in FY11 CR, and the FY12 budget was announced, last week.
And I think you got a couple $100 million recommended there by the President.
Yes, the President has requested for $550 million. Because this is really, I mean, you heard...
Which is, by the way, what probably some agencies here in Washington spend before you and I have breakfast in the morning, right?
But there are 3 big research, actually 4. One is NNSA, which is nuclear security, and I'll leave that alone. And there's Office of Science, which does fundamental science, understanding how materials and energy and matter interact. This is really the discovery, the instrumentation, the synchrotron radiation, the user facilities in the national labs. That's Office of Science. And our goal, and by statute, is to look for those technologies that do not exist in the energy market today, but if they did, they would make today's technologies obsolete and create large market impact.
So these are sort of disruptive, transformational technologies, not incremental improvements, say, in the efficiency of a solar cell.
No, it is the disruption which will really make market impact. So think about DARPA, and you mentioned about internet, GPS, in their case, stealth technology, et cetera. These are quantum leaps, and that's what we are trying to do. And by its very nature, there will be some failures. Right. And I think it's okay sometimes to fail and learn from the failure quickly, which is what we tell all our innovators, that it's okay to fail, but learn quickly from that and come back again. Our history has shown us in this nation that that has helped us. The competition then between all these innovators has created the largest industrial base the world has ever seen. Yeah. That is what we want to do in the energy business.
So tell us a little bit, dig down a little deeper. You've spent your $400 million. Roughly how many grants have you made? Are you making them to private companies, guys in garages, universities, all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
So about 1/3 of our money goes to university teams, and we really want to make sure that scientists and engineers work together, and entrepreneurs work together, because it's very important that the feedback loop between science and engineering happens. It's not a baton pass. So, okay, I've done the science, now you guys pick it up. No, it doesn't work that way. And if you go back to the history of when the pace of innovation really was fast, go back to the war, World War II, radiation lab in MIT, Lincoln Lab, which became the Lincoln Lab. The scientists and engineers were all together, and they innovated, and they created radar, which was a big, big advantage. So, so university is about 1/3, about 37% of our, 40% of our money goes to small businesses. These are 2 or 3 people or 4 people who have come out of university because they have a great idea, they got something, they feel they have something new, and they want to create a Google in energy. That's the energy that they have, and so 70 to 75% money goes out there. About 5 to 7% goes to national labs, and the rest to large, R&D labs and large businesses. So that's where it goes.
And what's the? Give us a sense of the size of the grants. How many grants for the $400 million?
So we have about 120 projects, okay. $360, $70 million we're obligated. So that is roughly about $3 million per team for over 3 years. Now that chunk for a small team is a substantial amount. In this financial austerity in the private sector, this is a huge, huge boost to what they're trying to do.
Because these people obviously, because they're working in such a high-risk environment, could not go to the bank and borrow this kind of money.
That's right. They cannot go to the bank. In fact, they cannot go to venture capitalists. Yeah. Because this is pre-venture capital. They don't even have their prototype. They have a great idea. And I don't know how many people I've come across who come to me and say, I have this great idea, and I just want to get a data point in an experiment. And we have lost the art of supporting these people. But I'll give you a few examples. I think it'll be easy to understand. Storage. Storage is a big issue. Out of our $400 million, I think about $120 million was spent in new storage technology. And this is both for transportation as well as for grid-level storage. So let me give you a few examples. In transportation, the way we're looking at it is that we want to make the electric car cheaper and with longer range than the gasoline-based car. That's the way to scale without subsidies. And so today's lithium-ion battery will not get us there. I mean, if there's a car that is electric and that is cheaper, then I would love to buy it. I cannot. And that means that if you look at the learning curve of lithium-ion battery, it's going to take some time in both cost and energy density, which is the range. So we said that there's a lot of investment going on in lithium-ion battery, but let's take the quantum leap. Let's try to make lithium-ion batteries obsolete because no one in the world has that battery yet. And lithium-ion battery, we have only 10, 15% of the manufacturing in the United States. The rest is all abroad. So let's take the quantum leap and keep the manufacturing out here. So these are a whole class of new batteries. Okay, zinc-air batteries that is rechargeable, magnesium-ion battery that is rechargeable, and we happen to have a lot of zinc and magnesium in the United States. So that's a part of a security issue, right? Aluminum-air battery, so the whole metal-air battery, which are much higher energy density. So we put a target. Let the energy density be higher than a certain number, in this case, 400 watt-hour per kilogram, okay? And today's energy density of lithium-ion batteries is about 180 or so, okay? So they're twice. And the cost to be $250 a kilowatt hour. Today is about $800 a kilowatt hour, okay? So the performance cost ratio is a factor of 10 or so, right? If you put that target out there, which will enable electric cars to be cheaper and longer range, then starts the competition. Everyone wants to go after this target in different ways. And we said, we don't care. Even if you have a banana that can store that kind of energy, that's fine, okay? So, so that's the idea. That's a great example, and all these people are going, and I've seen some amazing innovation. So lithium is explosive. I don't know if you've seen those movies. If you dunk it in water, this thing explodes. These guys have made a pure lithium battery. If you dunk it in water, it actually works in water. This is absolutely amazing. And this is they're in the lab right now. But if this thing works, it'll make the lithium-ion battery obsolete, okay, and be much lighter. And in fact, I just heard yesterday from a Marine. Our soldiers are carrying 20, 30 pounds of batteries. Yeah. If you can make that lighter, okay, and charge them with solar, it is stealth. I mean, this is amazing. What the implications on national security is actually amazing. There is a term in thermodynamics called free energy, by the way. It's only in thermodynamics. There is no free energy. There's no free lunch. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that keeps me awake at night, it's not that we cannot innovate. We have the best science and engineering infrastructure in the world. We will innovate if the entrepreneurs and the pioneers are given a chance. My worry is that it'll go somewhere else in scale. That's the second valley of death. And we have to figure this out. And you heard from the White House the announcement of Startup America. That's really to fill the second valley of death. And we need as a nation to keep the manufacturing, at least the pilot scale manufacturing, if not the whole, preferably the whole, but at least the pilot scale. Because the pilot scale goes somewhere else, R&D will go, and that's our bread and butter. And so this worries me, this concerns me. The home runs for ARPA-E will have impact more than 10 years from now.
More.
Because that's the time it takes to hit the home run. So I don't think we should be under illusion that the equivalent of the internet is going to be developed next year. No, it takes time, okay? In the next 3 to 5 years, we have several metrics of success, is that, are we creating more companies? Are people spinning off more companies? Is there private sector investment? Are we getting the best minds in this nation to work on energy R&D, okay? Those are necessary conditions for the home runs, but those are not sufficient. So we are looking at that, and what you had in the private sector investment is a measure, not the whole measure.